Thousands of exciting moments, hundreds of moving orchestral experiences, brought to audiences from this very stage. Tonight, we're unveiling the all-new, highly anticipated Houston Symphony 2016-2017 season. And the journey begins right now. Good evening, I'm St. John Flynn, on stage here at Jones Hall, the home of the Houston Symphony. In a moment, we'll talk to the conductors who have put the season's programs together. But first, here to chat about the new theme for this season is the Houston Symphony CEO, Mark Hansen. Welcome, Mark.
Welcome to our stage.
You've titled this new season, Experience Every Moment. Great title. Why?
We are inviting all audiences to experience every moment, all aspects of the live Houston Symphony concert. We believe that a Houston Symphony concert and everything that comes before, during, and after the experience is very special. From reading about behind-the-scenes activity through our social media channels, to attending the pre-concert prelude talks, to the actual concert and the buzz out in the lobby during intermission and after concerts, from audience members who have collectively experienced a live orchestral performance. We want everybody in Houston to know that this is their orchestra. This is an experience that has the potential to change their lives.
So what do we have to look forward to in this new season?
We're very much looking forward to a season-long celebration of Mike Krajewski, who will be concluding his successful tenure as principal POPS conductor, as well as the continued introduction of his successor, Steve Reineke, as well as the culmination of Andrés's three-season Beethoven cycle with performances of his opera Fidelio, a return of Yo-Yo Ma, and the introduction of a new National Geographic lecture series that will take audiences young and old throughout the world.
Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you, St. John.
And now music director Andrés Orozco-Estrada joins us to talk about some more of the highlights of the upcoming classical season. Andrés, 2016-17 is your third season as music director. You will be wrapping up the Beethoven Symphony cycle with symphonies numbers 6 and 7, but you'll also be offering a very special Beethoven program, Fidelio.
That's true, but I'm very happy that we definitely are concluding this Beethoven cycle, and especially since the successfully first 2 years, now with the symphonies 6 and 7, but even more important, the Fidelio, the only opera Beethoven composed. And it's a big thing. It's a really beautiful music and very difficult, especially technical for us, but it's also, you know, the message of the music, what is in the opera, is so modern in a way.
This is also the third season for your composer in residence, Gabriela Lena Frank, and the Houston Symphony has commissioned a new work from her, and in May you will be giving the world premiere of her new piece, which is a Requiem.
Correct. This is also very interesting because I remember when we started working with Gabriela, I think we had in our minds like could be a longer term relationship, but we didn't knew exactly how it's going to develop. After the first time we played in the first season, I liked so much working with her music especially as well, and I think the audience, the orchestra, we enjoyed so much that now this will going to be the conclusion, at least from this 3 years kind of relationship, composer in residency. The only thing is probably a little bit strange, if you want, is like we are doing a Requiem. And I say strange because a Requiem is of course something very tragical in a way, like celebration of
Mass of the dead.
Correct. But what is always very interesting in Gabriela's music and in Gabriela's way to compose is she knows how to include in her own ideas all these kind of folkloristic. In this case, I think is that the lyrics are going to be in Spanish or Latin, and then she will be probably also influenced, as always, with from the Indian music from Peru, and all this stuff makes her style very authentic.
Obviously, the Requiem will involve the Houston Symphony Chorus.
Correct.
And they are featured throughout the season, particularly with a weekend of performances of Haydn's oratorio, The Creation, which you're also recording.
Yes, correct. I mean, first of all, working with the chorus under the leadership, under the greatest musically leadership from Betsy is always really a great experience. I mean, I enjoy Betsy Coop-Weber, correct, our chorus master, and I enjoy this collaboration, this making music together tremendously. It's really beautiful. And in this season we are going to do the Fidelio, as we mentioned before. We are going to have the Requiem with Gabriela's, but also Haydn's oratorium, The Creation, which is a choral piece. I mean, it sounds like I'm being very too obvious, but it's, the choral pieces could be very different. Like Beethoven Ninth Symphony is a choral piece, but the chorus only appears at the very end.
Right.
But in The Creation, you have the chorus like really almost in every number. So like from the beginning till end. So I'm really looking forward, and even more because we are recording that piece.
You get in February to bring back Yo-Yo Ma to perform the Dvorak cello concerto with the orchestra. Have you worked with him before?
No, not unfortunately, or fortunately not, because now this is always the first time, so it's always something very special. So I'm very looking forward to this.
Another feature of the season I know many people will look forward to, apart from Yo-Yo Ma, is the return of two of your predecessors as music director, Christoph Eschenbach and Hans Graf. What will they be conducting?
Two very different programs. Hans, or Maestro Hans Graf, sorry, I'm being too familiar, is going to conduct very different pieces. I think very typically Hans in a way, so colorful program, featuring in the second part, the picture as an exhibition, which is a masterpiece. Everybody, I think, is happy to hear it again. But in the first half, he wanted to celebrate John Adams' birthday, 70th birthday.
He turned 70, yeah.
I think he looks like 50, but we know that he's celebrating 70th birthday with playing a saxophone concerto. And Maestro Eschenbach is going to conduct a Bruckner program, which is also very majestic, as always is when you play Bruckner. The connection between nature, God, and so great music this is what they are going to be. I'm happy that we keep this great relationship with my predecessors, and they are part of the history of the Houston Symphony.
You've got the new season brochure with you. Who else will be coming?
We have a lot of great soloists, in fact. Not that I'm surprised, but I'm always thrilled to see. We are going to have like Leonidas Kavakos playing and conducting. We are going to have Jeffrey Kahane playing and conducting as well.
Doing an all Mozart program.
Mozart program, correct. Daniel Trifonov. We are going to have two from our musicians playing soloists as well. Our first cello, Brinton. Our first solo double bass player, Robin.
Don't forget Yefim Bronfman.
Correct, Yefim Bronfman on the pianist. We are having Jill Shaham as well at the end of the season.
This season, you are completing your recording of the last four symphonies of Dvorak. So coming up in 2016 and 17, you will be focusing on, to begin with, music of the Americas.
Correct.
For a commercial recording.
Correct. As we mentioned before, we are going to record Haydn the Creation. We are going to record as well Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 3 with Denis Koshukin, and probably the highlight of the recordings, if there is a highlight, I mean everything is highlight, is going to be the music of the Americas. I say highlights because this is very close to what everyone wants to hear, want to experience from an American orchestra. And it makes us, again, is a big challenge. We are going to record Bernstein, but also Mexican composers. We're going to be recording Piazzolla. So it's a really, when we say Americas, it's really from the north to the south.
Well, Andrés, your third season, 2016-17, it sounds like a winner. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Now, let's find out what's in store for the always entertaining pop season. My colleague Ernie Manous is in the rehearsal room right now with not one, but two conductors.
So Michael, after 16 years, you're passing the baton to Stephen.
I am, and I'm happy to do that, and he's going to do a great job.
So Stephen, what do you need to know from him before you take control?
Oh my gosh. Well, the good news is I've been able to be with the orchestra a lot. The orchestra's great. One of the hard parts for me is I'm not nearly as funny as Mike. You know, he has all the great jokes, and you know, I've got to work on my stand-up routine a little bit.
No, not at all. Don't worry about it.
This is the third orchestra I've actually been following Michael at, so I've learned a lot already about how to make the transition from the Michael Krajewski era to my own look at things.
Well, we're going to begin off with Linda Eder, and she's going to be doing Judy Garland for you.
So that's the opening of the season.
Yeah.
I get to do the opener this year, and it's with the great singer Linda Eder, doing a tribute to Judy Garland, which is going to be so much fun. Pairing her voice with this incredible repertoire, and I've never had the chance to work with Linda. It's just never come up where she and I would be together, so I'm totally thrilled about that.
And then switching gears, we'll go to Simon and Garfunkel.
Right, right. Kind of my era, in a way. I remember hearing them live when they were making their recordings back in the late 60s, early 70s, and I've always loved that music. And now, of course, now it's just iconic American popular music, and I'm looking forward to this program because the two vocalists that I'll be using are really so good at not imitating Simon and Garfunkel, but in really getting to the essence and the spirit of their music in a very authentic way.
You love Simon and Garfunkel, but you also love a piano.
I do love a piano, and I know a guy who's really good at playing the piano and singing as well. Stephen knows him very well too. Tony DeSerre is going to be here, returning to the Houston Symphony. He's been with us before. Audiences love him. We both love working with him. He's a phenomenal talent, great singer, great pianist.
And then next up on the bill, Cirque Goes to the Movies.
We gave Cirque du Symphony their start right here in Houston with the Houston Symphony back in 2006. It was an idea back then to see what would happen if we took some Cirque du Soleil style performers and matched them up with music. I'm so glad that they're going to be coming back to Houston with an all-new show, a program that I've created with them together. It's called Cirque Goes to the Movies. So it's going to be obviously the orchestra playing movie soundtracks, and they are working up all new routines and doing new choreography to this music.
And talking about things that people love and that are global, Stevie Wonder. We go back over to you for a Stevie Wonder show.
This is going to be a brand new world premiere of a new POPS experience that we're creating right here in Houston. And it's with a young, talented Broadway actor, a friend of mine from New York City named Joshua Henry. And the music of Stevie Wonder fits right in Joshua's wheelhouse. He's got such an amazing vocal ability, and really can tell stories through song. He looks great. He's an incredible dancer. So this concert with Josh is going to be a lot of fun, paying tribute to a great American icon, Stevie Wonder.
Okay, another question for you then. Do you prefer a martini or a pink martini?
Well, pink martinis are the best. Pink Martini is a band I've worked with a lot. And the best way to describe them is they have a little tagline that says, if the United Nations had a house band around 1960, we would be it. Their music is from all different...
That's the best description I've ever heard of it.
It is. Their music is in all different languages from all over the world. I mean, typically you'll hear maybe 11, 12 different languages that the singers have to sing in during these concerts. And they're all classically trained musicians, so there's a lot of classical music influence. You'll hear quotes from Tchaikovsky and Schubert, all kinds of things in their music, but it's also always a great, great party.
Okay, talking global, talking maybe a little kitsch, maybe 60s. When I first start thinking about James Bond, that's the first thing.
Well, you mentioned we're on the subject of martinis here, so we'll keep that going.
But then I think to myself, over the years, how the music of Bond films has changed. Yeah, and you're going to put together a program of that. Right. We're going to do cover the 50-plus years of James Bond at the movies, and going to go all the way back to the first film and cover music from not all of the films, but touch on them all the way through the years of 5 decades worth of music. Speaking of themes, of things that you have your theme song, you don't. You don't need to rely on those kinds. Those are those gimmicks. Yeah.
Mine would probably have to be like the Muppets. That would probably be more like mine. He's got Rocky.
He does have Rocky. Mm-hmm.
I think the orchestra just can't wait until the time comes when they can start a POPS concert without having to play that stupid Rocky.
Well, the time will come shortly after the final show, which is going to be Classical Broadway. How are you feeling about going up there for that performance?
Well, the thing that means the most to me about that particular concert, yes, we're doing a program of classic Broadway music, which is phenomenal music, but the best thing personally for me is that it's really just going to feature the orchestra and the Houston Symphony Chorus, these two fabulous ensembles that it's been my privilege to work with for so many years. So I'm so happy that my final concert as a principal POPS conductor here is just really going to be featuring the musicians on stage, the ones that I've worked with all of these years, the fabulous musicians of the Houston Symphony and those wonderful musicians of the Houston Symphony Chorus.
Any advice for Stephen?
Just keep doing what you're doing. He doesn't need my advice at all. He's been very successful. He's extremely talented. He's got great ideas, and he'll be fine. He doesn't need my advice.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now let's track down Sinjin, who stepped out of the concert hall to find out what the symphony has planned for the family season and its community events.
Robert, great to see you again. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Another season upon us.
Yeah.
We're here in this wonderful high school auditorium. Why are we here?
Well, part of what we do at the Houston Symphony is not just perform in the stage at Jones Hall, but the orchestra and members of the orchestra and myself go out into the community in all sorts of venues. And today, in particular, this venue, I will be spending time with our community embedded musicians working with the orchestra here at this high school like we do with many high schools throughout the year. And what we do is we actually rehearse their music with them and work on musical concepts with them. And it's really kind of a fantastic way for not only the orchestra to reach out into the community, but for us to get an idea of what young musicians are thinking about and to be able to share our musical ideas and thoughts with them.
This is a new concept for the symphony.
It's a new concept for the symphony, and it's a new concept for symphonies in the United States. We're really at the leading edge here at the Houston Symphony, and we're excited about it. So these 4 talented musicians play in the orchestra part-time, but spend a large chunk of their time visiting schools. Now, they visit schools with me, but in addition, they visit schools that are coming to Jones Hall to hear our concerts before and after the concert. So we've sort of elongated the musical experience that young students have with the Houston Symphony and with these musicians. They're trained incredibly well. So they're not just great musicians, they're teaching artists who really know how to connect with each level, each grade level of student. And it really has made the programs at the Houston Symphony that much more sort of potent and vital.
Is it a string quartet?
It's not exactly a string quartet, so it's double bass, cello, viola, and violin, one of each.
One of each?
Yeah.
That fosters greater ties between the orchestra, the Houston Symphony as an organization, and the educational community.
I think that's exactly right. So what happens is that when the students come to the hall to hear the Houston Symphony, they look on stage and they see the musician that came and visited them at their school, and they feel an instant connection. In addition, those 4 musicians and myself create short videos that we send out ahead of time before each of the concerts to also help prepare the students for the concert that they're going to see. So we're really working to elongate the experience and make the experience at Jones Hall with the symphony as powerful as we possibly can.
One of your other focuses is the family series.
That's right.
And we've got another one coming up in this new season.
We do.
Starting with Aladdin.
That's right. So each year we do 4 of these family concerts, and they each have a theme, and they each give us the opportunity to partner with other groups and artists throughout the city. So we start with Aladdin, music of Scheherazade. We have Miss Shiver, who's going to be our narrator and the exotic Scheherazade, and she's going to tell the story of Scheherazade and Sinbad the Sailor. We also will invite a high school chorus to join us on stage to actually sing the music from Disney's Aladdin. And so it's a really exciting sort of Arabian Nights kind of program.
Coming up in February,
yes,
there is a tie-in to that carnival season, Mardi Gras, etc.
The piece that I programmed that's sort of the mainstay in that concert is Carnival of the Animals by Saint-Saëns. It's a very famous piece, of course. And in its original incarnation, Ogden Nash wrote incredible poems to introduce each one of the movements. We are going to not use those poems. We are going to have 6-year-olds write new, fresh poetry for each of those movements.
Really?
And we're going to have them narrated by a Shakespearean actor at the concert so that these kids can hear their works, their oeuvre, presented to the entire audience. But because it's during Carnival season, we're also going to be performing music, sort of Dixieland kind of jamboree kind of music, interspersed with this carnival. So it'll be a real romp.
I've done the Ogden Nash narration for Carnival of the Animals, and the music's great.
Yeah, and the poetry is great. Ogden Nash's poetry is fantastic, but I don't know if it can hold a candle to 6-year-old writing from Houston.
And then we have Dr. Seuss.
That's right. So there are incredible short operas, mini operas that were written by a composer named Robert Capello. Joining us on stage will be Lauren Pastrek, soprano. She's the daughter of 2 of our recently retired musicians of the Houston Symphony. And we're going to be performing Green Eggs and Ham. So Green Eggs and Ham, of course, everyone knows. And I remember the first time I ever performed these, I had a kid up at the top balcony that was waving his book like this. It was like a rock concert. It was awesome. As well as some music from famous Looney Tunes cartoons.
Now I know one of the things that you don't like to talk about is your costume.
It's true.
That is the tradition, is that you always get dressed up.
You know, this started when I very first arrived in Houston over 8 years ago now. And I have a slight propensity towards wanting to wear a big costume.
Slight?
Yes, slight, just a slight. And I love it because, first of all, it puts me in the mood, but secondly, it's fun for the kids to see this sort of character on stage. But I never tell anyone, including the musicians of the Houston Symphony, what I'm going to wear until the very first concert. And so they are surprised and find out what I'm wearing. Now, we are in the process right now of planning my costumes for next year, because sometimes it takes a while to have these built. But all I'll say is that I will be in costume for all of them.
Great season, Robert Franz. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Robert mentioned the community-embedded musicians, and all the members of the Houston Symphony are involved in the community. Let's go back to Jones Hall, where I was able to sit down with 2 of those world-class musicians who will be stepping out from the orchestra to play solos this coming season. Brinton, you have been with the orchestra now for 10 years as principal cello. Robin, you are the newbie. You have been with the orchestra less than a year.
True.
And you are incredibly young. How old are you?
I'm 26.
Same age as me.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely. Like brothers.
So you must be one of the youngest principals in any orchestra in the country.
I think I may be. I think so, yeah. I mean, I feel extremely lucky. I think about it every day. Finding inspiration at work is never a problem, and it feels great. I want to get a lot better, and this is a fantastic place to do that.
You are both, this coming season, stepping out from the orchestra as soloists. Robin, you're playing the Kusevitsky double bass concerto.
Right.
And he must be, for double bassists, one of your great heroes.
Certainly. I mean, he was an incredible musician in the American scene. I mean, what he did for the Boston Symphony is similar to
as a conductor,
Leonard Bernstein, something like that. And it's a hard-on-sleeve, emotive kind of piece. It's something, the kind of lyrical playing that we really rarely get to do, which is really exciting for me and to be able to be that vehicle for the instrument and be able to step out in front of the orchestra and play that kind of lyricism.
And Brinton, for you, another 20th century concerto, the cello concerto of Mario Castelnuovo Tedesco, which I think is about 1933 he wrote it?
35.
35.
And This will actually be the first professional performance of this piece in at least 60 or 70 years, but it's a project that's really close to my heart. Castelnuovo Tedesco was an Italian composer who had to come over, like Korngold and Roja, came over to flee the war and work in the Hollywood studios and became the teacher of John Williams and Andre Previn and the whole generation. But it's a beautiful romantic concerto. Toscanini loved it and insisted on premiering it with the New York Phil in '35, and then it just kind of fell out of favor because the kind of dissonant music was the rage. But I've had a dream of bringing this back for years.
Are there particular performances that you're looking forward to this coming season?
Looking through the season, I think what is so exciting is the range for me of being able to have a hand in the classical repertoire, the Haydn creation, the Mozart symphonies, paired directly next to Mahler 1 or large orchestral works such as that, because it really requires you to wear a completely different hat.
So you're looking forward to the variety?
I love it. I love fulfilling the role that as a bass player we get to fill in the classical repertoire versus the romantic repertoire, and also we're lucky enough to have a music director in Andrés that seeing what he does across the range of of music is really incredible for us and also for the audience.
And Brinton, for you?
I'm really excited for the concert performance of Fidelio, Fima Bronfman coming in, and Gil Shaham, of course, is a longtime friend of mine, beautiful player, beautiful human being. Really, honestly though, it's the concerts with Andrés that I would play for free. It's such an exciting thing to do.
Well, Gil Shaham is rounding out the season. Brinton, Robin, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Well, here we are, right back where we started, centre stage in Jones Hall. If you'd like more information about the Houston Symphony's upcoming season, visit them online at houstonsymphony.org. I'm St. John Flynn, and on behalf of everybody at Houston Public Media and the Houston Symphony, thank you very much for watching, and good night.